So as you were making the album, what was kind of on your minds as you were kind of putting it all together?
Well, when we were writing it, it was always sort of in these tiny bits of time we got in between
Sure.
touring because we were in America at the beginning of the year where we actually recorded some of the album and then on tours like all around Europe and the UK. So we didn't really have loads of time. So when we got back, it was we were kind of in this weird like frantic headspace that was really fun and like very adrenaline fueled. So I guess that's the kind of headspace we were in. It was quite like I don't know what would the word be? Just quite
Spur of the
chaotic but and
moment.
spur of the moment in the moment but exciting, and just sort of catching time where we could, and then it came together I guess quite nicely because the whole thing was quite mad and all the songs are about that really and the experiences and the the way we were feeling. It was a hot shock, which
Love
is kind of what we named it after.
Kind of going off of that too, I was able to listen to the album and I'm already obsessed with it. There's so many songs. Like I feel like just listening to it, you can hear so many different like diverse influences almost that were kind of fused in there. But what going off of that, what were your biggest maybe influences? Who or what kind of influenced you for the songs on this album?
This album, I would say we were listening to, well, it kind of changed throughout as, you know, as we were recording it, as when we were writing
Mm.
it. So I think recording wise, we wanted it to sound quite dry and raw, like the first Yeah Yeahs record. And we also listened to a band called Auto Lux, which became like mine and Lula's favourite band very, very
Yeah,
quickly.
favorite band of last year.
So
But
yeah.
yeah, like Breeders and Sonic Youth and a lot of 90s influences, which I do think you can hear quite a bit.
I know before like the album obviously isn't even out yet, but I feel like you guys have already gotten as a band, you've gotten so much praise and like so much recognition for just what you've been doing already. You've had so many really good festival shows, headlining shows, things like that. How does it feel to kind of be so successful already before even putting out like your debut full-length album?
It's kind of daunting because I think we did so much in 2023 and 24 that I feel like we're trying to be like we've still got more to kind of give, and we've changed a lot, I think. And it's always you always I always talk to other artists and they're always like your first album's always the scariest and you're always going to have so many different feelings about it. But I think we've been really lucky with who we've been on tour with and who we've worked with, and they've all they've been amazing opportunities, and I
Mhm.
think they've made us feel comfortable and like kind of ready for the album. But it is also scary because there's so many new bands coming out all the time, and so people move on to things so quickly. So I just hope that people will give the album a good listen because it's new and I think it is quite exciting compared to what we've done before. And yeah.
What do you think makes you guys kind of, because like you said, there's so many other bands out there as well right now. What do you think makes you guys kind of stand out amongst all the other indie bands, all the other rock bands right now?
I don't know. I think we do very much have. We never really know where we fit in because last year it's a good thing for sure. But we can play. It's like a festival in the UK called Download, which is very much heavy music and alternative heavy, and then we can also play quite an indie festival at the same time,
Yeah, and the psych
and
festivals.
yeah, and then play like a psychedelic festival, and we've been on tour with like Royal Blood, who are quite heavy and rock and that
And then
way,
like Warm
and then
Dusha, who
Warm
are
Dushu, which are very indie and kind of left field. So I think that we can kind of appeal to the different audiences with our music, mostly because of our influences, I think, and just how we've grown up playing.
No, that's very
yeah.
definitely agree that your guys' music kind of, like you just said, it can reach a wide audience, which I think is really cool. Um, I know you guys kind of going off of that. I know you've all talked about how you all just work together so well when it comes to making music and your minds are all kind of so in sync when it comes to songwriting and things like that. over the course of making this album, how do you guys think maybe your songwriting relationship or your relationship with one another, how do you think it might have changed while making this album?
But I guess this was sort of the first time where we didn't have any like back catalogue before we had to write the album. So it was kind of like, right, we need to write this whole album. We have no songs that we haven't already used up in our EPs or whatever. So we just would trying loads of different ways of writing, like all in a room together or on Lola's laptop and stuff like that. And I think we just like it's given us more of an understanding of how we work and sort of how to approach the next thing now and stuff like that. But I don't know, just it all came together really differently. Like every song kind of
We didn't have like a load of songs. We don't normally write a load of songs and then pick from them. We normally just we don't continue with a song if we don't like it. So I think if we finish a song, it's normally a song we're going to use. Otherwise, we just kind of stop. So I think that was the thing, just hoping all the ones that we'd finish, we were like, I hope that they're good enough, really, which I think they are. I think we've got a good selection on the album because it was kind of we all wrote them in different places and some with different people, and we did also our first kind of collab writing on two of the songs with Steph Mazziano, who did the album with us. So that was a new experience as well.
No, that's cool. And I agree. I also agree. I think you chose a good collection of songs for the album. I love all of them. So,
Thank you.
I feel like listening through the album, there's different songs where you can really just, each member kind of stands out in their own way and has their own contributions that they've made to the album that I think are just really cool. So for each of you, what are your kind of maybe your favorite contributions that you might have put on the album? If it's like a guitar riff you really liked or anything like that, what are kind of maybe some of your favorite little tidbits that you put on the record?
Alfie, what's yours?
My favorite by far is "Wanna Be a Doll." I just like the way that it like everything flows together, not just what I'm playing, but also how we all flow between the sections in that song.
I think I'm really proud of Strange to Be Here because of all the different parts in it, and it's quite a different style, and there's played some synth on it, and some of the guitar bits I think are really cool. And also One More Reason I'm really happy with because the bass on that is very repetitive, but it's really fun, and I've got like a nice memory of when we did it in Joshua Tree and we were just like messing around and just doing that. I've always wanted to do like kind of something. I think kind of playing less can kind of sound like more a lot of the time, but that one's definitely one of my favorites for me personally.
I'm glad you bring that one up actually, because it was also one of my favorites. And I agree, it sounds very, I don't know if this was intentional or if it's just how my brain interpreted it, but it almost sounded kind of like goth new wave-ish, like maybe like just barely. And I didn't know if that was intentional, but yeah, definitely. That was one of my
Yeah,
favorites. Glad you brought it
was
up.
yeah, that's our next single
yeah,
coming out a week yesterday.
yeah,
On the 15th.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love all the songs but I'm glad that I got to get a pharmacy on there because I always write these like very acousticy songs that I just kind of have for myself and just sing in my room. And that was one I'd had for like ages actually, kind of the idea. Um, and I'm glad that got on there. And I like it to end the album. It feels like a nice comfort at the end where it's all been quite like,
Intense, yeah.
yeah, and quite like vulnerable. So it's nice.
We always talk about how we're gonna write. Me and Selena are like, we're gonna do the acoustic album.
Yeah,
at some
one day
point.
we want like a 20-song acoustic
Yeah,
album. But I don't know, I think heavy music is really,
makes you feel good.
it makes us feel really good, and there's nothing quite like watching a live heavy band. Like it's just the best thing in my opinion. But I do love softer music and I'd listen to it a lot, and I think as well lyrically a lot of the time it's more like emotional and stuff, which is like my main passion ever. So
Not being emotional.
emotional lyrics, yeah. So yeah, I don't know, but I'd say heavier music really when it comes down to it
Yeah.
is yeah
They
the
both,
best.
I know you have your tour coming up once the album comes out, kind of your in-store tour, which is very exciting. But what are you kind of most looking forward to with that run of shows?
I think just like meeting people that listen to our music and want to buy our album. I think that's going to be a really nice thing. 'Cause we've never really done that, and I think I can't wait to hear what they say about the album and just their thoughts on it. And I think playing in all these places, obviously we've been to all these places many times, but I think to play at the Rough Trade record shops as well is it's just something. It's just really cool. Like I never thought we'd be doing that. So yeah, and there's two of them, one in Brighton and there's one in Bexhill, which is like near Hastings. So they're like kind of hometown shows for us, which will be really nice. And yeah, I think it'll be an interesting experience.
Oh, that's cool. I'm very excited for you guys to kind of play a lot of these songs, like for people who might not have listened to them live before. So that'll be a very cool kind of tour for you guys. Are there any songs that maybe you're most excited to finally play live that you haven't played live before?
Well, we've kind of been playing like on the tours we've had in 2024. We'd always put one or two in the set just
And then
to
add, yeah.
get it good. So we've kind of done all of them live apart from like Pharmacy we've never
We
done.
haven't
And I
done
guess
Hard
we have to
Goodbye.
figure out a way
Really.
of doing songs like that,
Yeah.
which we've yet to.
I think just doing the album in full really and just changing the setup and seeing how some of like some songs like Pharmacy and things and Hard Goodbye and we haven't really done. So I think yeah, it's a challenge, but it'll be fun and it's always nice to do something new because you do get bored of the set, I think.
Is there any kind of fear or maybe hesitation that you kind of have? I mean, this tour and like the new album coming out, it's obviously kind of a huge deal. Are you nervous about kind of showing these songs for the first time, or are you kind of like,
I think so, definitely. I think the idea of our debut record, it just does feel quite terrifying because you can only do it once. But I feel like when you're in like your third or fourth album, it's like your third or fourth album, but your first album just feels so like a lot of pressure around it. And like, so many bands we love, it's like, oh, but their first album's so good. So I just want us, I want that for us. But I'm just glad we didn't overthink anything too much and we just kind of went for it. But it's quite, quite scary. But
yeah, it feels like every day is getting closer and yeah, I just don't know what to expect.
I know you have the next single coming out the 15th, I believe. One More Reason, I want to say, is the next single. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, but no, again, listen to that one, and I really loved it. And I loved kind of maybe the message it was about, but for people who don't know, like kind of what's the story behind or the inspiration behind the single?
Well, it's really about the fine line between love and hate. Made a music video with this guy, Josh Quinton, and our idea was like this catwalk, and it's like you're walking on the like it's a
line.
very small line between it. And that's kind of the whole song. But
It's
yeah,
kind of like a
it's like
nursery
because
rhyme
it's so
song.
relentless, and the bass just keeps going and keeps going, and it's quite like intense and gets quite sort of
Weird.
jarring, but in a cool way. I guess that's kind of the way I feel about love and hate.
I know the song, quite a few songs like that one on the album, they kind of talk about love and relationships or how we kind of love or play a part like in loving other people and things like that. And I thought that was kind of a cool underlying theme to have throughout the record. But as you kind of wrote about that topic, what were maybe some things that you might have learned about yourself?
I just with the lyrics, I just really tried to be like as honest as I could. Whereas sometimes I'd kind of glaze over things in other songs, but I kind of used writing these songs almost like therapy, I guess, like just to say things as I really thought, and then I get to sing them every night, and that's very satisfying. But I guess it was like moving out of being a teenager and coming into our 20s and sort of having that shift of becoming a woman and your brain just feeling a bit more like in the room and you know what you want more. So I guess I learned that, but it's just being honest really in a notebook, and then everyone gets to hear it. I don't know.
No, and kind of, I know the album also has, you've all said it has like this theme of vulnerability, like we've talked about as well. And I feel like for a debut project, it is so cool to just be very, like you said, honest and just open and kind of put all these feelings.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, like we started touring and we got signed when we were still, me and Ola were 18, and we were very vulnerable, and we went on these big tours and went to America, and like now I look back and it's like it has just been this crazy whirlwind where we weren't prepared, we're still not prepared, but we're going with it and just not trying not to overthink anything too much. And the way we were describing it when we were like deciding what the album was going to be about or what the themes were, we were just like YOLO, because that's just really how it's felt. And yeah, I guess it's all been quite
Yeah,
vulnerable.
and just the relationships like everywhere, and the relationships we have with each other as well. Like it's very intense relationships because you're with each other every day, and you write all these like songs that are like your children together, and then you're constantly on the road with each other, and so it's just like all of that in one thing, really. I mean, I don't have much to do with the lyrics, but I think like we could all say that that's what the album about, kind of. Well,
How do you, because I feel like with this album, like we've talked about, there's like such kind of vulnerability. It's such a new experience. Even you said like writing it, it was kind of, it was very fun, but it was also kind of a more frantic, chaotic kind of experience as well. Um, what do you do, or like maybe what are some kind of mantras you have that like you do to just kind of reassure yourself or just say like, we're doing great, everything's gonna be fine. Like, what do you do to kind of like maybe stay grounded during a time when everything's kind of very crazy?
uh, I don't think we have one. I think we just go a bit insane and stress out, and then we're not very good at reassuring ourselves. I think everything we do, we know we can always improve it. But then I guess that's just to
I
take on
guess
to the next album or whatever.
we just
But
keep busy with it as well. Like I think it's easy to, especially this Christmas, like it's been the longest we've had off, and I think we can, you know, just to keep thinking. You've got to constantly keep thinking about the band and kind of think of it as not like as I don't know. As soon as you can't really drop the ball in a way. So I think to just keep focusing on it like that instead of just being like, oh, just do this gig, do this. Like I think just to
live in it.
live it really is a way that you can, I don't know, kind of manage it.
No,
So
But also, I would say we always have fun. There's never a time we're not like doing something. It's not ever like I always find myself having fun doing it. There's
Yeah,
not.
yeah, like we love doing it. We're
Mhm.
doing this. We love doing it. Not because we have to.
Well, I think it's cool that you're all like, kind of like you just said, like you're all having fun with it. It's something that I think if you're having fun, it's easy to kind of stay hopeful or optimistic when things can get a little crazy.
yeah.
So I think that's cool. This might be kind of my last question for you. But ultimately, like with the album coming out, what do you most hope to maybe express to listeners? Or what do you want to accomplish through the album? Like, what's kind of like the big thing that you might want listeners to gain from the project?
Well, I guess I just kind of want them to feel how we felt making it, and it was like a very exciting, exhilarating, sweaty, like mad time.
Mm.
Um, we just had a load of fun doing it, and it did feel very living in the moment sort of thing. So
Yeah.
I hope that the feeling kind of comes across, and it's like
Feel
fun
like they're in
and
a gig, really. And also hope people can listen multiple times and hear new things because though it was quite chaotic, we spent a lot of time with all the parts and
mm,
the way each bass drum and each extra sound and everything was quite is there for a reason. So I hope people can also listen back and
yeah, and yeah, a lot
the
of it
effort we put
we
in.
recorded it live,
Yeah,
so
all the sounds were recorded in live.
So I think that sort of sound does portray quite an exciting energy, which we really wanted. We wanted it to sound like a three-piece rather than loads of layers of random shit and guitars.
I'm actually glad you mentioned that because correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like people don't usually record live a whole lot anymore. I feel like a lot of it is just kind of like layering stuff. Is that
Yeah,
Was that just for this album specifically, or is that something you always do, or something you maybe want to do?
It's something we hadn't really done before, and I really wanted this album to be as live as possible, and for our parts to just be, you can really tell it's like bass, drums, guitar, vocals, and like, there is overdubs obviously, but just for our parts to really stand out and so we can perform it
Yeah,
live.
the bass of all the songs are all live. Not like the actual bass, but like the bass of the songs is, everything. And I was really nervous about it. I was kind of like, oh, I don't know. It might just sound awful. But I think it's the main thing that makes the
Yeah.
album, not having a clip on every song. And yeah, we only had like 10 days to do it in, so we basically did a live song a day.
And we did it with Catherine Marks and Steph and Marziano, and working with Catherine was pretty crazy. She's very like inspiring.
Yeah, and she's worked on some of our favorite albums like ever. So seeing that like in action, I don't know, it was so like motivating. The whole thing just was like the best experience, and we were so happy with how it turned out as well.
Again, I feel like working with somebody that like you really look up to or who's worked on your favorite albums, that's also like another huge milestone to have like with your first kind of
Yeah,
project. So that's very cool. Was there anything else you guys wanted to add that you wanted to let people know? Anything we didn't mention already?
The album's out March the 7th.
with yeah, obviously you can get different colors of it with our hair.
Yeah,
Sure.
you can get an Alfie edition, which is gold, a Lola edition, which is orange, and a Tudor edition, which is black with blonde.
I mean, whose idea was that? Because I think that's like the best marketing idea ever. When I saw you guys announce that, I thought that was so cute.
It's Tallulah's, I think, because
Yeah.
we realized our hair is quite big in it, whether it's a bit vain or not, but it's like it's a big part of us and our band. I think the three colors, and you can choose what you want as well, which is cool.
No,
Yeah, it's something we'd always wanted to do, but like not had the format to display it in.
thank you all so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.